good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with Derek and Craig. I'm Derek, and Craig's on the line. We'll be hosting the show today. This morning, anyways, had our coffee, or at least some, anyways. We're still working on a little bit more, but last show we were going to talk about sight reading and stuff like that, and I kind of put a title up there, Craig, was saving history. Um, what I've been finding. I went to this new permission. Uh, and got on this site, and the more Craig and I talk about it and stuff like that, I don't think this site has ever seen a metal detector because of the size of the items that I'm finding just in that hour or two. It's just too big. Even the Radio Shack special, so to speak, would have picked up that stirrup, Craig. I mean, it was just. I mean, it's only like maybe 3 inches under the ground. It's a huge target. I found some wood burning stove parts. I didn't think much of it at the time. This place almost reminds me of the plantation property I had that I worked with the White's machines and the Bliss tools and stuff like that, where I dug, you know, probably thousands of between coins and jewelry stuff and like the Rouge containers, all this ornate stuff from the 1920s. Which I that era I really liked because everything was so ornate. A lot of the stuff was made out of brass and stuff like that. And this site has a lot of those attributes to it so far. I mean, I'm actually going out this morning because, man, yesterday, Craig, it was so thick out. You walked out the door, the humidity just smacked you right in the face, real heavy. And I'm like, what the heck, man? It went from being somewhat reasonable last week to this last hurrah. I think they missed the record in Orlando by like 2 degrees from beating a lifetime record of heat index and everything. So
we had rain all day yesterday, and I was going to go out to my site down the street. I've been down here twice and found a few things. I just put out a YouTube video last night on it's called Equinox software update, hunted site, what was it, hammered site, wow. So I went back.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And I actually talked to my friend next door, and he and another guy that I'd given permission to go down there, and they were just like walking around the site the other day and found some bottles and some marbles. So I thought, I haven't been down there and I haven't tested that new program. And the last 2 times I'd been down there, I'd gone down there with the Equinox and the Bliss tool and really hadn't found anything, worth keeping. But I ended up finding a mercury dime and a carbine bullet and I think 7 buttons. And I was kind of shocked. I was like, God, that's unbelievable. And I went the next day and hunted, re-hunted the grass and everything around that area and basically didn't find anything worth keeping. Mm-hmm. But, I one of the mercury dime was like a half an inch deep. And I actually pinpointed it with the pinpointer on the ground, and then just took my finger and flipped, and there it was. Yeah. And it was really crusty, and I got a comment on my video that this guy said, that's the crustiest looking mercury dime I've ever seen. And yeah. I was like, yeah, it's kind of like that $50 I found in Ohio. It's,
beat.
Yeah, it's that thing was, probably got walked on over the years. I don't know. It was kind of close to where the house was that it got knocked down. So, I don't know. It was a 1942, but that's only the third, silver coin I got out of that site. Got the Pistarine. I got 2 mercury dimes. I got probably, 50 wheat pennies out of there. Probably, 100 coins total, maybe.
Jeez.
A lot of, but
well, some
no
of these
Indian
sites,
heads. I didn't get a single Indian head. I only saw like maybe the couple guys that let hunt early. I think between the three of them, they dug maybe 3 silver coins. And my friend Steve was walking down the sidewalk and to go to the post office, and he looked down and saw a Franklin $50 that I guess the rain had washed the dirt off. It was right on the edge of the sidewalk. I was like, God, you got to be kidding me! But when right in front of that house, was just so much iron. It was in the ground there, and the house was real close to the sidewalk. On this street, there's not much. Maybe I don't know, 4 to 6 feet usually between the sidewalk and the house or the porch.
Yeah.
That's the way they do it in this town, pretty much. But
that's actually the way it was is in Weirton, West Virginia too. There's not much space. Well, in Weirton, anyways, because that's where my family's all from. But there's like a very small front yard and everything else. The backyards are big. The way they have them all set up, it's just kind of weird. Some towns do that, some towns don't. But you find a lot of stuff through there. I mean, I know that like there's a couple guys up there in Chicago and stuff. They'll do those little grassy areas between the sidewalk and the people's in the road, and they always find tons of stuff through there. It's a good spot to hunt. But yeah, I mean, this site, I mean, that I'm doing, it just surprised me. Number one is I haven't found any modern, like from, I don't know, the 70s on up. I haven't found anything so far. That's a good sign. I do have a lot of signals, so I mean, a lot of them are old, so it's you kind of get. I'm in the mode right now. I'm going to dig anything bigger than a square nail. I'm just going to dig it, because number one, getting it out of the way may open up other stuff. But a lot of this, every bit of iron I found so far, has been older, pretty old stuff. I mean, I would say, I'm kind of guessing on this. I don't know a lot about stirrups and stuff, and I was just telling Craig this morning that I found a War of 1812 stirrup, and it's shaped just like the one I have. It doesn't have the endorments on either side of it, but that was probably, it's a really nice stirrup. I mean, obviously it wasn't dug out of the ground or anything like that. But the design of them, it looks like, from what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, the design's changed over time. The way the curves are on them, the way where the strap goes through. Some of them have well, oh, go ahead, Craig. Sorry, you know more about this than I do.
Well, I think, you also got, I've seen like real thin stirrups, not like the one you have that come from that era, but I think that, they had different types of stirrups. Probably the officers had the heavier ones, maybe, and the enlisted men, probably had the cheaper ones. But they made different styles back then. But when I looked at, that stirrup looks really good. I mean, it's a big, solid, stirrup. I mean, it's as far as it's pretty thick at the bottom, and
it makes me think it's a working man, like a cowboy would have. I mean, good, sturdy. It's offset so that the way that you hold. If any of you all have ridden, I mean, of course, a lot of the Western saddles nowadays. I mean, that's what I always rode on and everything. But the saddle I used, that I bought, I think it was almost 30 or 40 years old, but it was in really good shape. Somebody took good care of it, but they didn't have these metal stirrups. I always thought were for English saddles and stuff like that. I didn't really, other than the Civil War being brass and stuff, military used them, but the tops of them, right where the strap goes through to hold them onto the saddle, where you put your foot in, but the strap right above it, those have changed. The angles of them, some of them are curved later on. I think most of them are nowadays curved at the top. And I have it soaking in molasses. That's what Craig did with that trigger guard. And, we were talking, it may take a week or so for the stirrup and for the bit. And it's an iron, I don't know if it's cast. It just seems like it's cast to me, but it may not be, because it's so, well, you saw pictures of it, Craig. It's so encrusted. And, the snaffle bit, it's half of a snaffle bit. and it's just so encrusted. So I'm hoping that some of that will come off. So maybe I can find maybe a stamp on it. Everything I found, and as I looked, I had to use a jeweler's loop, believe it or not, guys, on a piece of copper, and I noticed writing on it. It says stencils and stamps, and it's right in the center. Then around it, it has a name. I don't have it right in front of me, but I had to use a jeweler's loop to get this information off of it, and I haven't looked it up. But it's almost like the lithograph frames, the copper frames like Craig said he finds in Civil War sites. And I get that one piece has it on. There's several pieces. It's not one piece. But the other thing we thought was a cap for like a saddle, where the saddle horn is, and then you go over and it has the sides that come up. I thought it was a brass adornment or whatever, something, a bling on the saddle. Well, last night I got the jeweler's loop after that and started looking, and it has etchings on the other side of it. So it's like a bowl. It's only like about the size of a silver dollar wide and about $half the other way, and it's oval shaped, and it's only about maybe a half to a quarter to a half inch deep, and it doesn't really have it's not really, I don't know what the heck it's kind of, Pauline was saying it was either for makeup, maybe for a woman, to put something like a brush or something, or could it be even, I don't know what these opium thing, back then. They used opium and stuff like that. Maybe this is like a dish or something that they would set the pipe in. I don't know. But everything has a name. The only thing that doesn't have any markings on it is that harmonica reed. And I haven't even begun to look up those because I'm sure the reeds have changed a little bit in style or what they're made of, the thicknesses and stuff. Because we find a lot of these. A lot of you guys do too. But
I found, several different types in my yard, and the more modern ones are like real thin.
Yeah,
and I got it was weird. I got this tree in my yard I call the relic tree, and I found a lot of stuff around it. There's a lot of ash and stuff in the ground, and I think it might have to do with the house next door, or the cabin maybe, but I found like the top of a brass piece, a handle for a fireplace poker, and we found eagle buttons, flat buttons. I got a silver cuff link. So I'd hit that area pretty hard, but there's a lot of hot rocks in the ground from the cinders and stuff. And I got this one deep signal that was reading. It was reading like a plate or higher, and I dug down about a foot, and it was a real heavy harmonica reed that you couldn't even bend it hardly. It was so thick.
Yeah, they're.
I've never seen too many like that. Most of them are very thin.
Yeah, this one's kind of like, it's a little thicker than what I'm used to seeing. I mean, it's I don't know. I would say it has to be at least 1900. I'm pretty sure it's earlier than that because of the thickness of it. It just, you don't know, this site I'm going to treat like, it's the Virgin site. I just have no doubt. You just kind of know this thing, that if you're not finding anything modern, and there's so many big targets that nobody really had a metal detector out there, because I just can't imagine them missing it and not doing around that tree. I was only maybe 30 foot out, if that, from that tree when I found the stirrup, found the bottles. The bottles, the one bottle was 1920s, and it had a screw top on it, but the other one's a cork bottle, and it's in real nice shape. Wood burning stove parts I found out farther, a pocket knife, a harmonica reed. I mean, these are all older items that I think I found one pull tab, and that was in the field itself, walking up on this place. I think I may just video this thing as I'm detecting, Craig. I don't know if that, from a newcomer standpoint, it may help them out some. We see a lot of videos with people showing the finds and stuff, which is great. I'll do that. But I thought about, because I don't know what the heck I'm going to dig up. I mean, everything's a big surprise, because I didn't expect to find what I did in such a short amount of time. And there's probably tons of stuff underneath that. The settings I was using I was set just above square nail on the iron, discriminating it out some of the the smaller iron nails and stuff like that, which it really wasn't popping a lot as much as I thought it would. But when I go over and I could tell it's iron with that detector, but I'm kind of curious where the main house was. I think I'm where the stables was, or I would think, since I'm finding horse tack parts and stuff like that. But the house, even the owner's not sure where the house used to be. He just knows it was a plantation property. I have the family name, done some research on it so far. I haven't found anything, but I know I'm going to come across some kind of old photos or something like that. It has that. It's one of the original plantation. The name, anyways, is I've heard through Pauline's family history, stuff like that. That name coming up, and they were big into cattle. And cattle. There's one of the oldest auction houses or whatever cattle lots is not too far from there. Right here in Central Florida, so it's a good possibility. It may be original or one of the first plantations.
Have you looked at Google Earth to see if you can see anything from above?
Actually, I've been so slammed the last 2 days, Craig. I haven't. I was trying to pull it up on my cell phone yesterday morning. Actually, when I was at the doctor's office with my wife, and its stupid phone wouldn't. It was making it too big. I couldn't shrink it down and see what was going on. So I do need to do that. I'm actually going there this morning. I'm on a hunt again this morning out there because I got to run into town anyway. So I figure I'd just take. It's like 10 miles farther than that, but I'm going to hit it again for about 4 or 5 hours this time, and hopefully I'll have a lot more information on it. But I want to document it a little bit better. You don't find sites that have activity like this that are untouched so often. It's kind of like, well, your yard, Craig. I mean, I don't know if somebody's probably hunted it at some time, but you found a ton of stuff in there, and where you found it at. And I'm talking 40 acres here, so I think it's important to kind of keep a diary of where you're finding stuff. And I'm going to use the tree as reference because it's the oldest thing there that I can tell, but also that I'm finding the flint rock or whatever. It's limestone rock, but it's like fossilized. I don't know. It makes nice shards and points. And down here in Florida, I find a lot that are white with like red dots on them. I don't know if that's iron or what it is. It may be the hardness of the limestone rock or whatever this stuff. It's like limestone rock, but at any rate, I'm seeing this stuff laying on the ground and in chunks. And it's like when you find it, you can flip them over. Some of them are big; you can't even get them out of the ground. I've seen them come out, the size of, I don't know. Put it this way: you need a low boy to load them on. Put it that way, and they need to get a crane in there. I've seen a few pull out. So you're looking at this little thing the size of a basketball on top of the ground, but underneath the ground, this thing's huge. But I'm starting to see a lot of it are broken up, like chipped off, almost like they were using it to. To make tools or make whatever way back when. And there's a lot of this stuff, sporadically laying around trees and everything else. So I've been, looking at those too. That's how I found that stone axe. It was just laying by a tree. Like somebody said, okay, it's getting worn down enough. I made another one. I'm going to set this one here. Maybe somebody can use it or somebody will find it or whatever. I don't know. But, I don't see a sense in chucking it or burying it or anything. Just lay it on the ground and take the other one. And it's almost like what the one I found is like that. But I'm seeing a lot of that kind of stuff around. And every one of these, even the branches on this tree, Craig, are bigger around than most of the trees I see, in that area that are, it has to be at least 12 foot around some of these branches. I mean, they're massive. And I don't know if we can really get that on the picture. I'm going to video it. Maybe it'll be a little bit better just to show how big it is, but there's a big crotch in that tree, like big enough where I can.
That tree is like a relic,
It is. It's beautiful, man.
If anybody wants to see it, I put a picture of it on the Instagram and on the Hardcore Metal Detecting page on Facebook. But there was a lot of people that thought that was a pretty awesome tree. You don't see too many like that.
Not down here.
In modern times.
Yeah, I've seen some half that size, and they're pretty damn old. And I actually had one that was just about a half that size on my property, and it split in a storm, and I had to cut it down. But That's an old tree. I can't remember seeing one that big anywhere around here, anyways. I mean, that's a huge tree. And on the other side of it is you could even see it even better in the video that I have. I haven't posted it up yet, but the landowner's girlfriend is walking around the tree, checking the electric fence, and and she walks. It's like she's a dwarf by this tree. I mean, she can probably lay down and still not be all the way across this thing on one side. As far as the width of it, it's huge. But
yeah,
I'm going to go around that tree today pretty good. I may even take the smaller coil. I just been kind of get what I can. It's easy, not cherry picking, but just noticeable signals, getting them out of the way. And I really haven't dug that much junk. Everything that I thought was junk actually has markings on it. So it's kind of like, save everything you can, because and this is only, I don't know, Craig, this is not even 30 foot of this property, the area that I detected in, total. And we're talking 40 acres, and I have 65 acres next door to it. So if this was the plant, well, he said it was owned by these people. And I know from family name that it's been there for, ever, really, as far as I'm concerned. It's been there for a very long time. I noticed that some of the Spanish, I'm just kind of curious when I'm coming across. I may even come across Spanish stuff. You never know. If it's that tree's pretty damn old. The one arborist or whatever said it was he thought it was at least 500 years old, which is incredible to survive that long with all the storms and all the weather and all the humidity and everything not rotting. Now, it's a live oak, by the way. It's not a water oak. A water oak wouldn't have survived. They rot out after a while. But, just finding out where the barn was, where the stable was, where the house was actually at. And I still have behind his house, I think he's had that property for 20 years. But behind his house, there's a bunch of, not huge trees, but they're pretty doggone big. But, we had clotheslines. I'm finding bottles already, so there's probably a bottle dump around there somewhere, and it's all pretty much flatland. It's easy to metal detect.
Almost sounds like that stable might be around that area because of the stuff you're finding, like that bit and the stirrup and stuff, and that little shield.
Yeah, and I found a tractor, like a tractor implement. I'll have to take a picture of it. I have it in the back of my truck. I save everything because if you don't know what it is, save it. And, I'm going to give it, I told the landowner when if I find stuff that pertains to the property, let me clean it up, get some pictures, and I'll give it back to you. Or if you want it, and I'm just going to ask him if he wants the stuff, but I'm cleaning up the bit in the stirrup, and, I just want photos and everything. It's cool finding it. That's the thing, I've had such a dry summer, man. I tell you, it's been, Craig was laughing. He's saying, you're due up. I said, well, I hope I am this time. I'd like to find a couple old coins in different parts of that front, where that tree is. I'd like to find a couple coins around that area that a large cent would be great. I mean, something to date it. If you can find 4 or 5 in that time frame, well, you got about the right era. Especially with large cents and stuff like that, because they were, V nickels, even shield nickels,
or even a marked button.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, you might even find a military button in there or something. Who knows? I mean, if it was a plantation, it was old. They probably visited it there.
I'm wondering up in the crotch of that tree. I may take my detector and run it up. The crotch of that tree, there's like 3 or 4 main branches, big branches, but it's big enough for 2 people to lie down on just about, and kind of prop themselves up in the crotch of that tree. And I'm just wondering, will kids over the years play up there? It's an easy climb. It's only 6 foot to that. You could pretty much, if I was 10 or 15 years younger, I could probably jump right up in there and climb up in there.
Yeah, there was a guy that I saw a couple years ago that had made several finds of hammered coins in Virginia, and what he did was he looked for old trees that were, from the, basically the early 1600s. Probably been there, and in two of the trees he found stashes of coins where he basically, I guess there was a hole in the tree, and they, put the coins in there. And one of them he found I don't know, 15 hammer coins or something.
Well, that'd be wicked.
I can't remember, but he found several stashes of them, and some of them are along the James River because that was coming up from Williamsburg, and he was kind of following the trail that the people that first got there, they were in that Jamestown area, and then they started expanding up the creeks and rivers, exploring, and but he was actually running the detector, around the tree, and I guess about maybe 5 feet up, he found, got a signal, and there was a hole, and he found this stash of coins in the one. But that if somebody wanted to bury something to come back to find, a big tree would be a great spot because you'd be able to spot it. That it would stand out. And that would be like a landmark to kind of search around. And
well, you can't see this from, believe it or not, Craig, you can't see it from the road. I mean, it's a really long driveway from the main road back to where the house is now. And this tree is maybe, I don't know, we'll say 200 feet from the house, but you can't really visually tell that it's a big tree from the roadway because of the angle and where the other trees are at. But man, when you come from the other way, it's like, this thing is huge. People would have hung out around this thing. But if I can I can reach up there with a detector and just put it in all metal and just kind of like, get up there as far as I can. If there's something within, 2 foot of that coil, it'll go right through that tree or whatever. I mean, Blissful's real good about that.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can get any kind of signal, because kids are kids, or adults, or what, it doesn't matter, but kids will climb a tree in a heartbeat. I did when I was a kid, and I'd play with toys up there or whatever else when I was, 7, 8 years old, 9 years old.
Another thing to do is go at kind of like slant the coil so that you're going underneath the tree, sort of. Because that tree, as it grew, it was a lot smaller probably in the older days, and
right.
So there might be stuff under the roots real close.
Yeah,
that's another thing massive. I've heard.
Yeah, these roots are massive.
I mean, you might have problems getting under them, but that's another thing I've heard people found under those kind of trees.
I just can't imagine how deep they're rooted.
In the middle of the summer, if you had a really hot day, and people would be under that tree like that for shade.
Most of the time down here, Craig, I've found really nothing around trees. Believe it or not, even that plantation property, I figured, and had some pretty good size oaks through there, but I really didn't find anything but beer cans around them. It really, the old Milwaukee cans, the ones you have to take a can opener, whatever. The square or triangle, punch holes in them. I'd find those. Just frustrating because it's one of the places I like looking for. But this tree, I mean, I'm not finding. It's easy to dig too. Or I dug that stirrup out, the bottles out. It's like that tree rooted almost straight down. I just can't believe it survived the wind and the. And as a matter of fact, he actually lost the roof on his house during the hurricane. It knocked a tree down. I mean, the winds, he had a funnel cloud go over his house essentially, and it took out a couple of trees. It didn't even touch this tree. This tree it's stood the test of time, especially down here. I mean, I've lost every big tree on my property over the last 10 years, damage, and I have another one down there that you can't even, it's probably about 12 foot around at least, and it's split up in the center. I'm going to have to cut it down. So even a tree surviving that long, as big as it is, it's just amazing that it has. But I'm going to get some more pictures. I just think it's a neat property anyway. I don't come across these as often, everybody will say as often as they would like. So I think I'm going to document this one a lot better than I normally do. And like I said, I might just turn the camera on and hunt. Let y'all hunt with me. I'll be just as surprised as you guys are, because I don't know what the heck's in their ground. So If you see me do a jumping up and down, you'll know it's something good. So, but yeah, I'm going to get started today, but I'm probably going to wrap up the show this morning, guys. Craig, do you have anything else you wanted to talk about? Because we got a few more minutes if you want. I didn't know if you know you made that video and you found the bullet and everything. What's the weather like today? Are you going to get out again? Or are you stuck? Or you said
it rained all yesterday, but it's supposed to be sunny and 65 today, so it's not going to be. It wasn't that cold yesterday, but we're starting to. The leaves are starting to turn. We've got some beautiful fall foliage are starting to come out.
Yeah.
Just started this week. The leaves are starting to turn, but I don't know. It's just I think one thing is good is we hadn't had it'd been dry for about a month, so it's this rain soaking into the ground might perk up some more targets for me.
Yeah, I'm just glad it was cooler down here because I tell you, yesterday was miserable humidity for me anyway. We had to go over to Claremont, and it's right outside of Orlando area, Winter Garden area, whatever. But yeah, it was humidity was so bad. I woke up this morning, went outside, and said, "Now this is what I'm talking. This is a fall day. It's like in the probably mid to upper 60s this morning. It's beautiful weather, so I'm going to take advantage of it." Gavin says, "Yeah, bees and wasps would be my luck looking in a tree and climbing a tree. That's why I'm sticking the metal detector up there first with the coil. I'm not going to climb that thing. Nothing like seeing a big guy fall out of a tree trying to get the hell away from bumblebees or something." So, but yeah, I'll let you guys know what's going on with it. I mean, this is what I expected to find on the Tollbridge property, this kind of activity. And I just have not found anything like that over there. And I'll still hunt it because it's like I said, it's 400 or 500 acres. There has to be activity there somewhere around that bridge and along that property line somewhere. So, I just keep on hitting that one too. But right now I'm just having fun because I'm actually digging something other than bullets and shotgun shells. So,
yeah, I told you go over there. You needed a change of venue.
Yeah. Well, I don't like giving up, man. I'll fight like crazy to find stuff. You know what I mean? It just, especially when it's got to be there. So it's more of I'm not letting the place whoop me. I'm just, like you said, I had to take a change of venue just to keep my skills going. You know what I mean? But yeah.
It's kind of frustrating when you got a great place. You think you got a spot, and then you can't find much on it. But that other site, with the big tree, that sounds like you may find something pretty nice in there.
Yeah, I'm hoping to find, if I can. Like I said, I'd like to get buttons or something to date it, at least somewhat. I mean, I know with coins it's kind of funny because they could have, you might have a 30-year-old coin in your pocket right now. So back then, so you can't. But buttons would be awesome. Tokens would be even better because they did use tokens down here. And the railway being right there, the Orange Belt Railway ran right by there. So if I could find railway seals or something and that would date it back at least to the 1890s, because the Orange Belt Railway I think stopped in 1906. They were ripped or stopped using narrow gauge rail. They used the typical one now, is what they put in. And center, where I'm hunting at was big farming, big ranches, big, plantation properties, wild west kind of thing. So, back in the day. So we'll see what happens with it. But yeah, I'm gonna get off here because I got to get stuff ready to go, buddy. I'm ready to go out detecting.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys skip work today. Just call your boss. Tell him I said it's okay. So, you got an excuse to go out detecting today. So. But all right, Craig. Well, I'll call you later, brother. I'll send you some pics if I find anything good.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, and like and follow the show, and check out the other shows too. A lot of them on out there, and they're doing a really good job. Been listening to a lot of Relics Roundup and All Metal Mode, and all that. So check them out too. Like and follow their shows, and I guess we'll talk to you guys on what's today? Wednesday, right? Yeah, Friday morning. Yeah, Craig called me yesterday or texted me. He goes, "Oh, I thought the show was this morning. I got the wrong day." I had to laugh because he freaked me out when I saw that text message. Oh crap! I'm in Claremont. So we lose our minds once in a while. So.
That's what you get when you get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, we got Brandon and Earl and Gavin on this morning, and I think I saw somebody else on here too. Maybe. Yardifact Digger's on there too. So, guys, thanks for listening in and everything. Tell a friend, and we'll talk to you guys on Friday morning. Get out there, keep digging, and God bless.